So I have news, and I figured it actually probably deserves its very own video because it's really big news. It is about Maggie and the possibility of her getting an AAC device, which has been a really long time coming. I think she probably should have had an AAC device for years. For anyone who's new here, I'm autistic, my husband is autistic, and all 5 of our children now are officially autistic. Probably 2 members of our family especially could benefit from AAC devices. Maggie, however, our 10-year-old, is the one who is closest to getting it. Maggie can speak. She is not non-speaking, but it's probably really hard for most people who don't know her very well to understand her.
What do you want me to put on, Megs? Tessie? Okay, we'll put on Tess. Valentine's or Tess? I would like to do Valentine's. We have watched Tess so much lately. Huh? Birthday? Okay. Wait, give me a second, okay?
I think some people who watch the channel regularly, I think, probably understand a lot of what she says. I understand probably 95% of what she says, but most people who meet Maggie don't understand most of what she says. And even a lot of close family members don't understand a lot of what she says. James says that she speaks mermaid, which she likes a lot because mermaids are her favorite thing. She speaks a lot in nouns, and she's really good at using her language in a way to get across what she means. An example of this would be when my parents go back to California to visit family, they usually buy some shoes for Sadie. And this is because Sadie has size 11 feet and it can be really hard to find shoes for her. When they go back west, they go by the Nike outlet store, and the Nike outlet store usually has really inexpensive size 11 shoes. So usually they'll pick up a few pair. And they always bring back presents for all of the kids, but Sadie always gets shoes. Apparently Maggie had picked up on this time because Sadie hadn't grown and she now has a bunch of size 11 Nikes that they've kind of collected. They weren't getting her any shoes, but the last time they were in California, Maggie said to me, Maggie and I were by this door where we have a hanging shoe organizer. And Maggie looks at it and she's like, Maggie shoes, Maggie shoes. And there weren't any Maggie shoes in this shoe organizer because Maggie is constantly taking her shoes and either putting them under the couch or she leaves them in the car a lot, and then she will get out and run into the house and leave her shoes in the car. And usually I'm holding bags of stuff and different things, and I won't realize she doesn't have her shoes on until later on when I'm looking for them, and then I'll realize there's like 10 pairs in the car and I'll bring them all in at once. Probably a slight exaggeration, but at least probably 6 or 8 shoes in the car. And so Maggie, she goes, Maggie shoes, and I was like, I looked around, and she and Patrick also wear the same size shoes at this point, so sometimes I'll put her in Patrick's shoes because he has a lot of pairs and they're always in the house. She goes, Maggie shoes, and she's looking at the shoe organizer and she doesn't see them. And then she goes, all of a sudden she goes, Sadie shoes, Sadie shoes, Sadie shoes, California shoes, Sadie shoes, California shoes, Nanny and Grandpa, California shoes, Sadie shoes, Sadie shoes, California shoes, airplane shoes, California shoes, Sadie shoes, airplane shoes, Maggie shoes, Maggie shoes, California shoes. And it was really, really clear to me what she was saying. She's like, well, maybe we can talk to Nanny and Grandpa and maybe they can bring you back some shoes. But I was going to go to Walmart today, so maybe I could get you some shoes at Walmart. You do have a lot of pairs of shoes, though. It's just you usually leave your shoes in the car. And she's like, California shoes, Grandpa shoes, California shoes. And I was like, okay. And so that day I was going to Walmart, and I did go, and I bought her a pair of tennis shoes that was all, shiny and purple and pink. I brought them home, and she looked at them and basically tried them on and then kicked them off and looked at me and said, California shoes. And so I told my mom, and she was like, oh my gosh, we'll get our shoes, we'll get our California shoes. And she did, and I was on the phone the whole time. She was at Target looking for shoes for Maggie that were perfect for Maggie, and she ended up buying rain boots because Maggie loves boots. She actually wears Sadie's giant size 11 shoes all over the place, and her snow boots all over the house. And so she ended up getting her rainbow rain boots, which Maggie is now wearing everywhere in the house, and she is referring to them as airplane boots. Grandpa gets credit for a lot of things that Annie buys, actually. Grandpa M&Ms, Grandpa boots, Grandpa... Anyways, so the reason I'm telling you that is because it is kind of an example of how well Maggie communicates, not in a typical way, in a way that I can understand, but in a way that a lot of people wouldn't understand. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't understand what she was saying if she had that conversation with them. And we had it about other things too. There was another one right before Christmas where I was upstairs and I was cleaning up her room because she had had a lot of fun shredding a magazine, because shredding paper is a very fun stim for her, and she doesn't do it very often, but once in a while she'll just go to town. And she had basically shredded a magazine and her room looked like a hamster cage. She'd had a great time doing it for the first time in like a year. While I was sweeping up the paper and she was helping me, she all of a sudden looks at me and she was like, iPad, which happened to be what my dad had gotten for his birthday this year. And I was like, yep, iPad, which is what she usually calls her Kindle, but this time she was like, iPad. Christmas iPad. Merry Christmas, Maggie. iPad. Grandpa, iPad. Happy Christmas, Maggie. Merry Christmas, Happy Christmas, iPad. I was just like, yeah, I'm not sure you're gonna get an iPad for Christmas. And then she's like, Happy Christmas, Maggie, iPad. Grandpa. I was just like, you know, it worked on the shoes, but I'm not sure it's gonna work for an actual iPad, Maggie. Happy Christmas, Maggie. Like, good luck with that, kid. So, she's kind of a genius mastermind when it comes to this sort of thing. But her communication, it's awesome in some ways. But yeah, definitely not typical, and definitely not something that everyone understands. And the pitch sometimes is very high and sing-song, but not all the time. Anyways, so AAC devices. Augmentative adaptive communication. Augmented and adaptive communication, something like that. If you watch this channel, you know that I am not a fan of ABA any longer, and I've made videos about that. But you also would know, if you watch those videos, that our girls were in ABA, and that Maggie was in ABA for a very long time. When Maggie was younger, we were strongly discouraged in ABA, starting at about 3, when she didn't have a ton of words at all, obviously. Like, she could say things like, good girl, good ma. I think at 3 she had like 10-ish words. We were strongly discouraged from using any sort of PECS book or any sort of picture book or anything like that. Which was not the case with Tessie. With Tessie, Tessie's therapist strongly recommended PECS and strongly recommended like a picture book, and Tessie really was able to communicate that way. And part of the problem with her doing that once we got home was that Maggie was obsessed with her book. She loved it so much, and actually Maggie spends quite a lot of time playing with it now, and Tessie has zero interest in it. But with Maggie, we were told it was kind of treated as something that would slow down her language, which from all the speech therapists I've known, they say words are Maggie's primary way of communicating, and that's not going to change no matter what else we have. And her speech therapist really wanted her to use a PECS book, but we were hesitant because she was at therapy all of the time and they were really discouraging of it. And with her only in speech 1 hour a week, it was hard to really implement it. But then when we saw it with Tessie, it made me have major regrets, because Tessie was really good at PECS, at least in school. That changed my mind a lot. So Maggie, her speech therapist, this time around when she got back in speech, after we took her out of school, wanted to try an AAC device. And the way it works with an AAC device was we had to try a lot of other things first. So first we tried like little cord boards, which are like little laminated pages that have words that she could point to on it, and she had no interest in that. Really, those would just get destroyed in our house, both by her and Tessie, because they would stim on them and just roll them up and carry them around and not use them at all. And then I made a big one. I had a printed out and laminated at Kinko's. It was 4 feet by 2 feet. Same thing, giant cardboard. We put it on our dining room and we tried to point to the words and get the girls both to use that. And again, very little interest. Maggie was interested in looking at it. James was super interested both in the little boards and the big boards. James was like the one kid in our house without a language delay. He loved them both. Of course he does. He loves words. But they would have nothing to do with it. And ultimately, after like, I don't know how long ago we got that thing. It was on the wall for months, but ultimately Tessie finally managed to rip a little hole in it, and then she made it bigger and bigger and worked on it over a couple weeks until she destroyed it. So once enough things had failed, then we were able to apply for a trial of an AAC device. Over the month that we had it, we gathered information for the speech therapist, which was different because of COVID. So she didn't get to see Maggie with it other than dropping it off. We had one day where we went in and she got to work with Maggie with it. And I did a bunch of trainings online where I watched videos basically about the program we were using. And the trainings were on the LAMP system because we had a choice between 2 different systems. And from learning about them, I liked the sound of the LAMP system. It seemed to make the most sense to people who are autistic, the way that it's set up and the way that the categories are grouped. And so that's what I ended up going with for our girls. And then the way we did this, because she wasn't going to be having her weekly speech therapy sessions with her speech therapist, was I checked in with her speech therapist weekly via Zoom. But then at the same time, I texted her whenever anything big happened, or not really big, but whenever she would have like a breakthrough using the device, like she would use it to ask her dad or her grandma usually for something, I would text exactly what happened. I would text the order she'd used the icons in, basically the words she'd said, how she, like, she pressed this and then this and then this, and this is how she asked for things. This is what she asked for. This is what she said on it. And I would text her probably a few times a week, and she encouraged me to do that too. Once I did it the first few times, she was like, this is perfect. This is, I've never had a parent do this before, but during this pandemic, this is the perfect way to do this. And she ended up writing a 13-page report, I believe it was, and sending it in, which was also the longest report she'd ever written. And her OT also wrote a report and sent it in. And then we waited and waited, and it felt like a long time as we waited. It wasn't really very long, because first I believe the company itself, I'm not sure what company, some company had to approve that she needed it, and then the insurance had to approve that she needed it. And we got news a little bit ago that both those things had happened, and today we got news that the speech therapist had received the package with her device in it. So now she will be giving that to Maggie, and Maggie's device will be coming home with her, and it'll have the case, the super strong case, because the other one was in a super strong case, stronger than like even the Defender ones that she had in the past. Because she didn't break that thing. It was amazing. We were all kind of nervous about that. But yeah, she had that thing for a month and she didn't hurt it at all. It was awesome. And she'll also have a little handle thing that she can carry it in over her shoulder. We might end up buying a harness thing, because I showed her harnesses online. Some people have harnesses so that they can kind of wear it like a little tray, and she had actually asked for one of those. So I think I might end up buying her one of those in a month or two, depending on how she likes carrying it over her shoulder like a purse. So that's it. Maggie is getting her AAC device, which if you don't know what that is, hopefully I'll be able to find some clips that I have of her when she had it.
And there was a guy there repairing the dishwasher.
Good job telling me.
I want video DVD.
You press it here. Here.
Basically, it's something where she can press a button and it says a word, and she can put sentences together, and she can ask for things. She actually didn't use it that much with me. She used it a lot with other people, which her speech therapist said is pretty normal because she knows that I can understand her, but she used it like with the rest of the world, with people who can't always understand what she's saying, which is really awesome because it gives her another way to communicate. And when we sent it back, she didn't ask for it right away, but after a couple weeks, she started asking for her talker. And so I'm so excited that it's gonna be on its way back. So that is it. That is the news. It's on its way to us. Well, it's almost here. Maggie's getting her talker back, and that is some of the best news that I can give you. Well, that's some of the best news that we could have gotten. So I'm excited. I will definitely have a video up when it actually arrives and she gets it and she gets to start using it. Now my new goal is to get Tessie one. That is it for today. If you like this video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up, and if you're interested in all things autism, I'd love it if you'd hit subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.